And about I've got to get Castro, and he pushed us, and his brother Bobby did too. Every day, harder and harder, running those covert operations to try to get Castro.
He was, in our view, a bad man, the head of a government that we wanted to destabilize, and as part of that destabilization program, we set out to assassinate him.
Those in the CIA who ran the psychological experiments were given the task of finding ways to assassinate Castro. So they returned to Montreal. They hoped that Cameron's repatterning might allow them to program a perfect, undetectable assassin. But what they didn't know was that Cameron's experiments weren't working out quite as he had expected.
He was saying to the world, I have developed a program in which I can literally alter the behavior of people so that they will be well and able to function in society, make a contribution to the society, be happy, as opposed to before the treatment they were just not able to cope at all. And it just wasn't there in the data. It just wasn't true.
But Cameron was determined to prove that his methods were working. He made films which demonstrated that his patients, whose memories had been reconstructed, were better.
To provide an objective record of a subject's behavior, she's filmed before treatment and again after treatment, and the two films placed side by side. Notice how the subject before treatment, in the picture on the right, holds onto the chair as she moves. Notice the difference in posture, the greater effort required to rise from the chair, the longer time needed to complete the simple task.
Cameron was producing a new sort of human being, but not the kind he had predicted. He had succeeded brilliantly in wiping the memories of his patients, but he couldn't find a way of replacing them with new memories. His patients were completely free of their past and of all the emotions that went with it.
I don't even have any kind of emotional memory. My first memories are just of being, and I had to learn how to be a social creature, and that was the most difficult. It wasn't learning how to drive the car or learning how to cook. It was learning how to communicate with you people, because you talk and on many different levels. There's hidden agendas and innuendo and just about everything that a lot of people say. Memory is wrapped in what society has decided we should feel like. You should cry at funerals. I found myself not crying at a funeral, and I felt just fine. And I thought, gee, there's something the matter with me. I'm not crying. I should cry. Everybody else is crying. But there wasn't that need to.
Why is all of this being done? What have they built you to do?
I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows except Veretsovo in Moscow and my American operator here. Or whatever it is, it's supposed to happen soon. Right at the convention. Maybe. I don't know. They can make me do anything, Ben. Can't they? Anything.
The CIA were terrified that the Russians might also be working to produce a programmed assassin. They decided to continue funding Dr. Cameron. Whether he was creating healthy human beings or not was now irrelevant. The perfect assassin would be programmed for one simple task, and the fewer memories and emotions involved, the better.
A perfect agent would be somebody conditioned to be kind of amoral. You could train them to use firearms indiscriminately. You could train them to shoot people with very little feeling or thought. You could train them to use abusive and brutalizing procedures in order to obtain information with no hesitancy, with no concern. For example, I might not easily be able to go into a laboratory, take a knife, and cut a cat's head off. It's something that I would find very difficult to do. Now, in order to achieve that, you would have to deal with significant aspects of memory.
Not having a memory is not knowing who you are, and not having any sense of how to fit into the world. I didn't know it was not right to flirt at parties if you're a married person. I carried a dictionary with me for 5 years and would run into strangers' kitchens at parties trying to look up the words and trying to figure out what it was that was going on in the living room so that I could take part in it, because I wanted to. I wanted to be just like everybody else. And I knew I wasn't. I didn't know what the script was. I didn't know what the next cue was going to be. I didn't know who the actors were. I didn't know what the plot was. I didn't know what the end of the play was going to be. And it was very, very scary.
The assassination of President Kennedy began to tear the CIA apart. Some within the organization believed that Lee Harvey Oswald had been trained by the Soviet Union to kill the president. Others feared that it was the result of their own assassination program, that somehow had gone horribly wrong. Either way, those who interrogated Oswald became convinced he had not acted alone. Someone else seemed to be in control of his behavior and his mind.
I was amazed that a person so young would have the self-control that he had. It was almost as if he had anticipated the situation. It was almost as if he had been rehearsed or programmed to meet the situation that he found himself in. It was almost as if he anticipated every question, every suggestion, every move that any of the people in charge of him made.
Rehearsed by whom?
Who knows?
Have anything to say in your defense? Oswald has been shot.
4 years before he shot President Kennedy, Oswald had defected to the Soviet Union. To many, this was proof he was a Soviet agent. But 2 months after his death, a KGB agent defected to America. His name was Yuri Nosenko. He told the CIA that his job had been to watch Oswald in Russia. He assured them that Oswald had never been trained by the KGB. It was the beginning of paranoia inside the CIA. Some senior officers refused to believe Nosenko. They had another KGB defector called Anatoly Golitsyn. He told them that Nosenko was false. He had been sent by the KGB to trick them.
Nosenko is the key, because Nosenko handled Harvey Lee Oswald in Russia for the KGB. Mr. Golitsyn says that Nosenko is a Soviet plant to mislead American intelligence. So when Nosenko says that Oswald was not acting on behalf of the KGB, that means that in fact Oswald was acting on behalf of the KGB. And there you go, and you are in the wilderness of mirrors. You see everything, and in fact you see nothing.
Nosenko was held in complete isolation by the CIA and interrogated day and night, but he stuck to his story. But those in charge of his interrogation did not believe him. They were convinced he had been implanted with false memories by the KGB.
Nosenko's brain is the depository of the truth. Whatever the truth is in his memory, is in his brain. And the thing is to find a key which will open that brain so we can find the true memory from the false memory.
The CIA set out to wipe Nosenko's false memories. They used all the techniques that Dr. Cameron had taught them.
The problem of detecting whether or not a memory that has been implanted can be